In this video, we'll see how to use the distributive property. The distributive property means multiplying a sum by a number is the same as multiplying each addend by the number and then adding. So let's take a look at some examples. Numerically, this would mean something like if I had 4 and then times here in parentheses 3 plus 7. What I could do is I can multiply 4 times 3 and 4 times 7 first. This is sort of how I think of the distributive property. I'm distributing the 4 to each of the terms in the parentheses. So 4 times 3 is 12, and 4 times 7 is 28, and 12 plus 28 is 40. But if I took the same problem and instead of multiplying 4 times 3 and 7 first, if I add what is in the parentheses first, I can get 4, and then 3 plus 7 is 10, so 4 times 10 is 40. You see I get the same answer? This is why the distributive property is important, because according to the order of operations, I was supposed to add what's in the parentheses first and then multiply that 4, but the distributive property shows that we can use either way and we'll still end up at the same answer. We use this in algebra when we have problems that look like this. So I have this expression, 3 times the quantity a plus 11. And if I have to simplify this expression, right, what I need to do here, well, I can't add a and 11 because they're unlike terms. So I use the distributive property. I multiply 3 times a, and then I'm going to add here 3 times 11, which is 33. These two expressions are equivalent. It's just the second one is simplified. I can also use the distributive property. It helps me when I calculate mentally. So if I'm trying to figure out what's 8 times 56, what I'm thinking in my head is I think to myself, well, what's 8 times 50? What's 8 times 6? And I add them together, right? And this is using the distributive property because 56 is made up of a 50 plus a 6, right? So I'm multiplying both of the terms in those parentheses by 8. And 8 times 50 is easy to do in my head. I know 8 times 5 is 40, so 8 times 50 is 400. And then I just want to add 8 times 6, which is 48. So 8 times 56 is 448. This next example, 13 times 29, really what I'm going to think to myself is 13 times 30 minus 1, because 29 is 30 minus 1. I think for me it's easier to think about it this way, multiplying by 30 rather than multiplying by 20 and then multiplying 13 by 9. So 13 times 30 is 390 plus minus 13 times 1, which is just 13. And 390 minus 13 is 377. Then we could look at a couple sample problems where we simplify these using distributive property. Again, if it helps, it's not a bad idea to show that you're going to multiply 4 by both of these, because a common mistake is multiplying 4 by one of those terms but not the other. 4 times 2m is 8m. 4 times 5 is 40. This 5 is positive, this 4 is positive, so the 40 is a positive. So it's 8m plus 40. Here we have a negative sign that we're distributing with, so we got to be extra careful when we see that. And say 3 times y, negative 3 times y is negative 3y. Now this 8 here, this 8 is a negative 8, right? Because I'm subtracting 8. It's the same thing as adding a negative 8. So I think to myself, well, what's negative 3 times negative 8? A negative 3 times a negative 8 is a positive 24. So because it's a positive 24, I'm going to put the addition sign between these two. Okay, here are some problems for you to practice on your own. Please solve them and then hit pause, and once you hit play again, I will go through them. Okay, 7 times 42. Again, this is what I'm thinking. You don't have to write this, but this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, well, what's 7 times 40? And I'm going to add 7 times 2. 7 times 40 is 280 plus 14. So we get 294. 12 times 39, I'm going to think to myself, well, what's 12 times 40 minus 1? 12 times 4 is 48, so 12 times 40 is 480 minus 12 times 1, which is just 12. And so I get 468. Down here, 4 times 5t and times 4 times 8. So 4 times 5t is 20t. Remember this 8, it's a negative 8 because I'm adding a negative 8 is the same thing as subtracting 8. So 4 times a negative 8 is negative 32. Because 32 is negative, I'm putting the subtraction sign between these. Commutative property of multiplication doesn't matter if the 2 is in front of the parentheses or after the parentheses, I still get the same result. So 2 times a negative 5 is a negative 10. 2 times r is 2r. That's a positive 2r, so there's a plus sign here. Here is two more problems for you to practice. So again, hit pause and then hit play when you're ready to go. Okay, let's solve these two. I have negative 5 times g and negative 5 times negative 7. So negative 5 times g is just negative 5g. Negative 5 times negative 7, negative times a negative is a positive. So I'm going to get positive 35, so I put a plus sign between here. And then number 6. What did you do for number 6? Right? We have the understood 1 that is here. So I've got the understood 1, so it's like negative 1 times 2a and negative 1 times negative 7. Negative 1 times 2a is negative 2a. And negative 1 times negative 7 is a positive 7, so I put the plus sign. And that's how we use the distributive property.